my therapist actually said something to me that really stuck with me. And she said, how do you know you're burnout? When do you know you've hit enough? Like, when is enough enough? And I thought that was such an interesting question. Like, I could not answer that for the longest time, because I think a lot of us, and this really, so much of my audience is women. I know we have men and women listening together. We have men listening as well. But I will say, as a high achieving woman who loves to do good work in the world, that loves to, perform and to do all the things that this life has to offer me, I have learned to push through the signals of my body. And I think a lot of you have that same experience where you don't know, you just pick yourself up and go, and you do it over and over and over again, because so many of us are mothers. So many of us are working and being mothers. So many of us are working 2, 3, 4 jobs. Like, we are just burning the candle at both ends, and there is no room for rest. I remember in times in my clinic when I would put in very long days, I would get to the end of the day, and in my head, I was like, I'm done. I quit. I'm exhausted. And then there would be this little voice that would be like, well, that's a nice dream, but you don't have that luxury. Go home, get some sleep, go back, and you got to do it again. So we've created this push on through culture. I strongly believe that pushing through works better for the male body than the female body. So we have to have some kind of understanding of where is that edge? When is enough enough? When is it time to prioritize rest? When have you hit that moment that you need to do your lifestyle differently? And I will tell you, when she asked me that question, I had to sit on it for a moment. And then when I really sat in meditation, when I sat in some moments of calm and rest, I really got clear where that answer was for me. And I'll share what I discovered for me in a moment. But when I really, truly, authentically asked myself where burnout hit, I found at first I wanted to override, like, I can do it. I'll be fine. I just need a day or 2 off. But then when I really dug deep into my soul, I was like, I think I've hit it. And here's how I know I've hit it. I got to a point where I wasn't handling stress very well. Little things were becoming big things. Now, this is very common for menopausal women. So the other side of this equation is that I understand what I'm hormonally going through as a 54-year-old postmenopausal woman. But if you are one of those people that you feel like every little small amount of stress is creating a large reaction, you have definitely hit the edge of what your nervous system can take. It is in what we call a stuck sympathetic fight or flight spot. And it's not going in to a parasympathetic place. Remember, we have 2 nervous systems, one that kicks in when stress is on the scene and one that kicks in when stress is gone. It's called sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. So when we're in a constant state of stress over and over and over again, we get locked in the sympathetic nervous system. And it's like a record skipping where something stressful hits us and we go into fight or flight. And we know we go into fight or flight because the little things become these big things. Now, the menopausal journey makes that worse because you are losing both estrogen and progesterone. You are specifically losing estradiol. And estradiol was the form of estrogen that permeated every cell in your body. Every organ system in the body, in a woman's body, has a receptor site for estradiol. So when you were ovulating, what happened is estradiol helped release an egg. And then when she peaked, she also went into your brain, into your heart, into your lungs, into your liver, into your gut. She went everywhere and permeated your body with her magic. And her magic, when she permeated all the cells of your body, she also created a cascade of neurochemicals. And that cascade looks like she made you more dopamine. She made you more serotonin. She made you more acetylcholine and glutamate and oxytocin and BDNF and all these neurotransmitters that helped you balance stress. And when she is gone, your stress response becomes exaggerated. And you no longer feel like you can handle the stress load you used to handle years ago. You combine that with the loss of progesterone that's been going down since 35, and progesterone stimulated a neurotransmitter called GABA. And so GABA calmed you. So when a menopausal woman has got an increased amount of stress and workload, burnout looks very much like you can no longer handle stress. And that honestly is where I got. And I just want to point out that I think it's really important. Stephen Bartlett on the Diary of the CEO, if you haven't seen that podcast, it's one of the best podcasts, that interviews that anybody interviewed me on. He asked me a question about, he said, I have a lot of friends who are menopausal and they all say exactly what I just said. They all are struggling with stress. They're all struggling with mental health. They're all struggling with physical health. How can I support them? And what I told him was, I just be patient with us because we don't understand ourselves. So what that looks like to me when I hit this place where I could see even the small things I was having these exaggerated reaction to, I let my loved ones, specifically my husband, know. I was like, I am overreacting. I know. And I need to rest more. I need to cater to estradiol and progesterone more. I'll talk a little bit about how you do that. And I have hit a point where I am not flipping out of the sympathetic nervous system. Now, beyond that, there is another theory that I have spent a lot of time studying, and I really brought it into consideration when I looked at my own burnout. And that's the polyvagal theory. And the polyvagal theory is very complex. There's a lot of parts to it. But what it says is if you stay in stress long enough, you will go into a third nervous system, a new nervous system that is being developed. And it's called the freeze nervous system. And the freeze nervous system is where we withdraw. It's where we stop caring. It's where we numb ourselves out with food, alcohol, drugs. It's in the I don't give a fucks moment. When we hit that over and over and over again, we have tipped our nervous system. And in full transparency, I said this on New Year's Eve. I put a post out to my community. Some of you may have seen it. I was really clear that I needed to take the first 90 days of this year to rehab my nervous system, to get myself out of burnout, and that I am committed to continue to showing up authentically so that we can all, hopefully frees everyone to be authentic, for all of us to talk about our journey. We have created a culture where we put like only our highlight reel out, and then everybody's comparing each other to their highlight reel. Meanwhile, you're thinking there's something wrong with you because you're not looking as happy or beautiful or thin as the menopausal woman on Instagram. But you don't know, the minute she gets off Instagram, she's on the ground crying, or she's not handling stress well either. So I'm making a stand to show you what it's like to care so deeply about yourself that you make a change.